Well, hopefully everything's cool. We'll find out. Hey, Ash. Well, so far so good. It almost kind of looks like them right now. Yeah, he's cool with it. I would take that as an official endorsement, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna set this aside in a different bag and then just use it for stuff like this in the future. It's pretty clean still, so trying to keep any of these chips of this resin out of it so that sometime in the future I'm not rubbing my finger over it and I slice my finger open on a hard piece of resin. Need to find a better release to use with this material. It comes off okay, I guess. We backfilled it with that expanding foam, and that stuff gets so hot enough where I'm sure it really softened all this clay. Stuff gets pretty warm when it's setting up. Well, Ash, I think I'm gonna lay up. I'm gonna lay it. Excuse me. Allergies killing me this morning. I think I'm gonna lay up a second front piece for the mold just to have, so I have a backup. Because right now I don't have any backup to the sculpture. So if something happens to the mold, I drop it or anything like that, there's no master to work from, so I think I'm going to get some kind of a master that I can set off to the side. I've got the extra material, so I'm just going to do it. It'll add another night, another day stream and do it. So I didn't make this mold very thick, but yeah, it's a lot of little steps along the way. But there's a whole load of materials on their way. Should be dropped off today. I'm watching for FedEx. If all goes according to plan, we'll be pouring one in the next couple of days. I didn't order any of the paint pigments yet. I ordered pigments for the silicone, but I'm going to try to get an idea of how many I need to make, because that stuff is expensive and I don't need any extra sitting around. Well, these are the eyes that I screwed into the front of the mold and then drilled holes in the back so that the resin would flow in and trap the eyes. I want the eyes permanently trapped to this. And when it goes back in the mold, you put the screws through it and it'll keep a perfect location for the core so it won't move around inside. Good morning. Afternoon already. You know, I have thought about doing a gelatin cast with different layers of gelatin Very easy to do. I can get like a 1-to-1 human skull model from Lindbergh or something like that. They're usually about $50, something like that. But you can mix gelatin and color it and then paint layers into your mold. So I can do like a flesh, and then I can do like a pink, and then I can do a red. And that's how they did that in Raiders. They did a gelatin casting of a head, and then they just blasted it with heat and let it melt. So I thought about doing one and filming it just for the hell of it. We'll see. The workload is going to be pretty high coming up here. Once you pull a skin out, a silicone skin, you're on a timetable. You've got to do your patching and painting and things like that within a reasonable amount of time, and I mean within like a day or two. The longer you wait, the less silicone will bond to itself. It'll still bond, but like patching and stuff, you want to do almost immediately. Or I thought about just Jello, a giant Jello head with some nice grapes for the eyes, and some pineapple in the brain. Nice treat for the holidays. I've got to go out and get more cups, baby powder. I'm going to see if I can get these sold on him as a marital aid. You can put this on and then really romance the little lady. Put this thing on, head out to your favorite karaoke bar. Man, you talk about a night on the town. Remember, if you're using solvents like naphtha or acetone, always wear some rubber gloves and a respirator, or you'll die. Work safe, everyone. You want to be wearing at least a 1/4 inch thick Kevlar glove when handling this material. Nope, not a 1. Little Brinkman's going to have a sip. He's going to sip to that. A successful core. Just sip. It can't get it to the mouth. I need a sip. Sorry, Heat Man. To get that answer, you're going to have to watch all 1 million hours of streams. Now, see, that's a guy you don't mind buying a drink for. It's very considerate. Doesn't take advantage. Although, if I'm buying the drink, he might only get like 32 sips out of it. You know how that goes. Get a little crazy with other people's money. Yeah, I'm just trying to, and this doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be spotless. Like even like there's like a couple of low points. I'm just going to leave the clay in it. This represents the inside surface of the mask. So I don't want it to be, terribly messy, but it doesn't have to be a work of art in there. Probably there's a couple, just a little sharp, like maybe there was a pinhole in the clay and it resin flowed in just a little point. Stuff like that I'll just knock off with some like 400 wet dry. So bear with me just a second here, and then I'll explain the process for those of you that haven't been in here a lot. Let you know what happens next. Well, Lando, we all did. We all missed her. I wonder why they're pushing her so hard. Lainey is really pushing her. Must have plans. She's really a dullard. She doesn't ever say anything. So this is the mold core. This represents your head, your big goofy head. This has to take up the space inside the mold so that it leaves a shell. So the main mold has all the details in it from the sculpture. So there's all Clames in there. I got to clean the rest of that clay out of his eyes, but he has ears on the side. So that's the face inside there. The mold bolts together with all the detail over this shell. So when I set this back up, I've got little alignment holes drilled. This goes back on. The screws go through the eyes. And into these eyes. And then all the different bolts go in, and it holds this in a exact location so that there's a space around this and the inside of the mold. And I'm gonna, on the back of the mold, I'm gonna cut a hole and put a little piece of a pipe and use that for the pour gate. So that's the orientation of the back piece. So you can see how there's a gap. That was the clay that we put in there last night. That's what the actual silicone is going to be. So what I'll have to do is, once it's all bolted together, I'll have to come around my seams with some soft clay and just make a nice little dam there so it doesn't pour out. And then I've got to drill some bleeder holes in the different parts of the mask. What those bleeder holes will do is allow air to escape from the mold. As the silicone pours in, it'll run down to the bottom, and then it'll start to fill up from the bottom. But as it rises, it's going to start trapping air in like the nose and the brow. So I'll drill real small, like 1/64, 1/32 tops holes in the high points. So as that fills up, it'll push the air out. And then you'll see, you can also use the bleeder holes to chart the level of silicone in the mold, because as soon as the silicone starts to just kind of ooze out of those bleeder holes, I just smear some clay over it to stop it. And then whatever our cure time is, which is, it's probably 6 hours or so. Well, I'll have to see exactly what it is. So the assembly will be the opposite. We'll pull the back off, and then I'll try to pull the core out from the front, leaving the mask inside the front. And that's the plan so far. Hopefully I made a good decision on that, but it should be fine. Once the empty mask is inside the shell, you know, you'll be able to push it around and peel it away from the side. So I should easily be able to reach in there and pull the ears out of that space. I don't expect to have a problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is make one master silicone pour. Pull it out, check it, see if anything needs to be patched or fixed. And then I'll leave it in the back. So really what you'll see is this whole assembly with the silicone mask still on the core. And then I'm going to make a second front shell over that. So I have a backup. And then we'll be doing masks. One thing I have to do, and I might work on that tonight, is I have to make a pattern on this core to do my reinforcement mesh. So there's going to be like a spandex membrane around this when it goes into the mold. So when you pour the silicone in, it'll fill up and it'll impregnate that that nylon mesh so that it won't tear. It's still stretchy because the material is stretchy, but you can only stretch it as far as you could like stretch the cloth, and then it'll stop. Because otherwise you could just take the mask and just rip it. So I know I get a lot of questions like on Reddit and stuff like that. Is it done? Is it done? And, you know, just for one guy doing this, it's, you know, a little bit at night. It's a lot of work. But we're getting to that point where the main part of the work is done. Now, the cool thing about this is if we ever want to, if we decide to do a Geno, I'll just sculpt on top of this core and it'll be ready to go. That's why I did it with plastic this time and not plaster. So I'd have a permanent core, just in case we do a Bisconte. I don't know if people can handle a Geno mask. You would have to have like plenty of an opening so your vomit could escape. We don't want anyone choking inside of a mask. We'll do like a little Ehrenberg to sit on your shoulder while you're wearing the mask, because no normal man's head could fit inside of an Ehrenberg mask. Maybe a small child. That'd be a good little Halloween duo for a father and son. Dad can be Geno, and little Noah or Dakota or Peyton, he can be Ehrenberg. Yeah, if you think about the that little angel and devil thing where, you know, they all of a sudden the music comes up and the little berg appears on your shoulder and you're just getting ready to tell like the most hilarious joke, and little devil berg pops up on your shoulder and like tells you a joke to tell instead, and then you just completely bomb and like everyone is cringing. Exactly. That's a good plan, Brandon. You probably wouldn't even have to hand her the note. You just walk up to the desk and she would just throw a couple of stacks of 100s still with the band on them, nice and crisp, and go, sir, just please leave. Take this with you and just go. And take your little friend with you. Just a small little baby podcaster. Oh, he'd just be wonderful. I don't know if you guys know, but when Gino goes to the dentist or the dermatologist, all the people in the waiting room start passing a collection plate. These people are generally good. As he's at the receptionist leaving, getting ready to leave the office, the receptionist is very unsure. Saying, sir, are you sure you're done? We can't interest you in anything else today? No, I'm good. Everything's great. Calls her an F-bomb on his way out the door. See all you Fs later. You know, that doctor makes him leave through the back door because he doesn't want prospective customers to see him leaving through the front. So he has like an exit out the back. That's where you see pictures that Alice had with the dumpster and the spaghetti box. As, you know, the doctor whisks him away out the back alley in the night. He says, hey, doc, do you have a referral program? And the doctor's like, no, just no, don't. Please. Yeah, I don't know why people think that that's a good idea. It's been tried, and it is a horrific failure wherever it's been tried. I just do not understand it. Hey, maybe this one time they'll all make good decisions. Oh, I'm really surprised that didn't work out. Yeah, it's such the whole idea is so preposterous. But you know those types, if you ever notice, they love to drop these little programs like that, and then when it's brand new and all the paint is still fresh and everything's shiny, they get all the congratulations and the attaboys, and then everybody leaves and you never see them again. So when things go the inevitable route, there's never any follow-up. It's really I think it's I think a lot of it is just they're people that are trying to create jobs and positions for themselves. That's really what it comes down to. And there's probably, you think generally people start off, they kind of, they care. They're trying to do something good. But, every business is wonderful and nice when you just cut the ribbon. 6 months later, when the windows are smashed out, and all the bills are behind, no one's there. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, and it happens everywhere. Or, some sanitation worker or firemen or police. It happens everywhere. All right, guys, so far everything's good. We're on track. We'll be on later. I'm watching for FedEx. Tonight we'll make the pattern for the mesh. I don't have to break out the sewing machine again. You guys can laugh and talk about what a great wife I'd make somebody someday as I toil away. I should look, make sure I've got thread too. That should be fun. Doesn't have to match. And so I just have to make that pattern once. It should be relatively easy. I'm hoping I can just do a very simple, maybe 2, 3 at the most seams for this pattern. Because the pattern doesn't have to follow. It's going to basically go straight over the eyes and just kind of pull into here. I might have to do a center seam so it follows this a little bit, but otherwise it'll just pull straight across because the eyes will be cut out of the mask anyways. So the mesh will be solid when you pour it and over the mouth, and then that will be cut out through the silicone and through the mesh. But that's where the mesh will keep it from tearing further. Oh, Lewis is going to show up and then sit there and not say anything for 2 hours. He does that every time. He's just there to plug, So he sits there for a whole show until the last 5 minutes of the show. No, he never does that. He just sits there quietly until it's time to plug. I've watched him do it a half a dozen times. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. What time did we go on? 11:30? Yeah, you know, I worry that those girls are going to get too big and they'll forget their roots. All of a sudden, I won't be able to get a retweet from Sarah Weinshank. I'll just be another faceless Stone Science fan, forgotten. It's bound to happen. Yeah, well, hopefully Lewis doesn't get his greasy fingers involved with it and try to elevate it and try to, well, let's do some more, let's do better editing. No, no, no. Don't do that. Just absolutely ruin the show. I should. Well, I could just I just send Weinshank a message or Kongi. Now I don't know. I think Weinshank would be more open to it. I'll just send him a message. Say, hey, can I design a T-shirt? Comedians love free art. I mean, look at the groundbreaking work that someone like, say, Steve Torelli is doing. Well, you already know what they're going to try to do. They're going to get bongs, probably stuff with speed weed, and get Stone Science all over it. And it's going to be really lame. It'll be a $20 imported bong that they sell for $50 or $40. It'll be some real garbage. I can guarantee it. Yeah, I saw he was really burning up Twitter this morning with a new compound art. A tiny pit right there. I'm just going to fill them. All that done. I've done it before, just to try it. I knew someone that had a propane rig, but I didn't do it I just basically melted some stuff together, and I've always wanted to have the gear to do it because it would also be useful for some metalworking, but it's a whole other setup with the propane tanks, and maybe someday. Up in Asheville, North Carolina, in Boone, there's a fairly nice art district for a little mountain town in North Carolina, but the college is up there, so that attracts some of it. But there's a glass blowing shop up there that's, mostly like little knickknacks and stuff, but it's really cool uh, to watch her make those little unicorns and stuff out of sticks of glass. I really love watching stuff like that. There's also a copper worker up there. He works with sheets of copper and makes these floral arrangements out of copper, and a lot of them have water pumps in them so that like water starts on a blossom and then drops to a leaf and rolls down. I mean, really cool stuff. It's I wouldn't imagine that stuff is really that hard to do. You just need a certain equipment. You got to have specialized equipment. They use these little propane blowers that have like a nice, really bushy flame, and I'd like to have a propane forge, but you just know that you're going to go through tons and tons of propane. You have to have a reason, or moving some finished product to pay for all that propane. Oh yeah, it's and I've watched a lot of people do it, and it's just I think the biggest thing is like getting a natural sense of timing and being able to identify the different states of the glass. When you're working with it, you just kind of get that instinct with it. I think, and glass is cheap too. It's not like you could sit there and make a bunch of stuff that was garbage and just remelt it. So definitely be something cool to do. It's not now. I wouldn't want to do it in Georgia in the summer unless I was running the air conditioner at full tilt. I don't like doing anything with a torch or anything like that in the summer. It's so hot down here. Oh, buddy, it's going to be so soon. He's a good boy. Just stares on in wonderment. Just amazed at everything. Well, metal workers do the same. They get down to where they just have an instinct for it both by the color of the metal and then by the heat, or not the heat, but the feel when they're working with it. Be in there with the metal tool. See, remember I had that bubble. Definitely want to fill. I had one little bubble on each side underneath the earlobe, so it was just the way the material ran. I'm just going to fill it. I'll probably use Milliput to fill it. Or I can leave it in and then just take a razor blade and just kind of shave it down on the... That might almost be better. We'll take a look at it. Figure it out. Another thing I really like to watch is pottery. Like at night going to sleep or something. The different styles of pottery in different cultures is really cool. Like the Chinese and Japanese pottery is completely different than, you know, Southwestern American pottery, and it's all just really cool. The materials are very similar, but the methods completely different. I also built a jig for making and laminating bow staves last summer, and I cut the first bow riser, and then I got so busy that I never laminated the staves. So that project is definitely something that's on deck one of these days. It's a lot of work making those patterns, and then I just got too busy to continue, but make nice, you know, exotic wood recurve bows. Then I can go out and get like pockets full of axis deer. Just munch them like popcorn. Yeah, every mask has its own mesh. Yeah, I made a tillering jig and everything. I was ready to go, and I got really busy with client work. And it's all sitting out there in the shop. I made a complete bending jig for laminating. Oh, you know, and if we do a Geno, it's going to be so much work cleaning the clay out of all those tags. It'll just be peppered in here. It'll probably take a month to clean out the tags. Yeah, I didn't know that they propagated like that. I did not know that was an issue. Are they something else? Can you catch them? Will we see Alex riddled with tags in a couple of years or so? I do not know these things. It could be that in Geno's culture that is considered like a sign of manliness. Like the chief of the village is always the one with the most tags. Like you see him and you don't even know if his eyes are open, and everybody just like bows down. And you can't get them removed because that's where all the wisdom is. Maybe in his case, that's where the humor is. Let's do this on this side as a test. See what we get. A small, inconspicuous area. I don't know. I was curious if those things are like HPV or something like that. I mean, not HPV in particular, but if it's a similar kind of thing. Because a lot of skin conditions like that can be viral, like chicken pox and stuff, and shingles, where it affects the nerve endings. I really don't know. It could be an issue. It could be something that we need to be concerned about. And you know, Gino, he would never be responsible enough to alert anyone. And man, I went to this comedy club and I don't know. All of a sudden I got these things popping up. There's a little bit of clay in there. You go to the doctor and he sits you down. He says, I'm really sorry I have to tell you this, but you've got skin tags. Take a moment. And he says, have you been to any comedy clubs in New York, in the New York area? Have you eaten at Fat Boy Pizza? Is that what that place is called? Flat Tire or whatever? Fat Boy. Yes, you know, there's no cure, but a lot of people live with it and live long and healthy lives. And you can too. Oh, it is. It is the big day. You see that post from the cop? He went right down to the hospital. You know, sorry you're in the hospital, and sorry I got more bad news. You fired. Sorry, Artie. We're gonna have to let you go. My marina fees have gone up. Sorry, bud. got a gallon of acetone. I'm gonna need that. Oh yeah, that could go on forever. And the lawyers love it. They keep getting the bill, sending another bill out. Hey, you know, Audie, you could do that thing again before court. Yeah. They could keep that game going on indefinitely. Till the judge decides to pack up the jury in the little bus and go over to the hospital and sentence him right there in bed, like Keith did. You know what's coming, and it may be sooner than later. So those two are going to start bashing each other online. Artie and Anthony. Especially now that the cop did that when he's in the hospital, because Artie will, he'll. I guess I don't blame him too much. He will see that as a reason why it's okay. It'll start off as jokes. Yeah, you couldn't even wait till I got out of the hospital. Yeah, see? Oof, don't want to put that on right now. It's like a gas mask, all that naphtha. All right, guys, let's cut it, and we'll meet back later on this evening. FedEx is usually 4:30, 5 o'clock for me, p.m. It's almost 1:30. That's not that long from now. All right, we'll see you a little bit later. Thanks a lot. Eggs.